Welcome everybody. I know it's Friday evening before a winter storm for most folks in the U.S. at least. So I hope everybody is staying warm and going to be safe over the weekend. Karthik, welcome. I know we go back a long way, and we are friends from before. How's everything? You good?
Awesome. Thank you, Lakshman. Thanks to Jason for having me here. We are bracing for a whopping 0.25 inches of snow here in Atlanta. And believe it or not, it's a state emergency which has been declared. So that's the state I live in. I used to live in Boston, and I know what it is, Jason and Lakshman, a real storm. But I think it's mostly in all fairness, is the icy conditions, road conditions here. But I think I'm all set with my 20 plus year old Subaru WRX, where I'm waiting to do my donuts in the cul-de-sac today, even though my wife thinks I'm crazy. But yeah, that's what we are bracing for here. But good to be here.
Yeah. I saw Anant was laughing. He was just telling me, talking to him earlier. He was saying that it was minus 42 with wind chill in
Oh my.
Minneapolis. So consider yourself lucky with a
Oh
quarter.
no,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I know, Jason. We talked about NRF before we jump into. I know you guys were also at NRF last week, Karthik. I don't know if you want to quickly share anything about what you saw at NRF, what struck you, what caught your attention before we dive into OneStock and what you guys do.
Sure. I think myself, I've been 10 plus years veteran, across the various companies I've been with. And this year's NRF, one thing was different was at least the first day I thought the weather was beautiful. Coming out of sunny skies and whatnot. But then you see AI everywhere, which is the same case the last year around as well. But I think there's a clear change in vendors, system integrators, and more importantly, retailers really talking about some practical use cases when it comes to AI and the adoption of AI. I thought that was different, as we continue to talk to our customers, prospects, and the rest of the peers in the industry. And then, of course, the Google UCP, along with the Gemini Enterprise that powers their new shopping agent, was interesting. Unfortunately, right now it's only open for Shopify. Jason and I were just chit-chatting about it. They have all this announcement, and now you're rolling up your sleeves trying to get some, hey, how, trying to get it to work. But all that remains is the documentation right now. The framework is still not open. But other than that, I think it was a great NRF. I think we are looking forward to a great 2026.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, exactly. So I think AI is everywhere now, and really looking to see what happens through the rest of this year. So yeah, before we kind of dive into talking more about AI and OneStock, and that's kind of a clear differentiator for you guys in terms of how you approach your product. Why don't we kick this off with just an introduction to for the audience? I know OneStock is a new entrant into the marketplace in North America, especially. So maybe just a quick introduction to yourself, your background, Karthik, and then more of an elaborate introduction to OneStock would be helpful, I think, for the audience here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lakshman. So myself, Karthik Marudur, I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been in the retail software industry, I would say 20 plus years. Started off with Yantra Sterling way back in the 2000s, and along with Lakshman and some of the other folks. And then was in professional services, spent a good amount of time working with brands like JCPenney, DSW Shoes, even going all the way to Japan for wholesale distribution for Ajinomoto and whatnot. And then coming to Manhattan to build their B2C order management from scratch, and did that, built the business for 14 plus years. And then, now I'm with, spent a couple of years at Fluent, and now I'm at OneStock, leading their overall product strategy and serving also as the chief evangelist here for the brand and the product here.
Yeah.
So yeah, just talking about OneStock, I would say, Lakshman, the way I would talk about OneStock is we are best of the breed AI first order management system. And our mission is twofold, right? Make the promise like, help retailers make a promise to their customers by calculating accurate stock availability, delivery options, and precise date and time before the customer buys or decides to buy the item. And then how do you keep the promise? We orchestrate the fulfillment in an optimized fashion to ensure that what was promised is delivered. That's really our core mission. And then we provide a true multi-tenant SaaS platform using which we empower business users with rich out-of-the-box capabilities and configuration tools. In this case, we take a lot of pride in offering these configuration tools with the help of agents where business users can come and do these configurations themselves. And we believe businesses are not paying an OMS vendor just for the software, but also what we bring in from a best practices perspective, which has carried over years of experience in solving similar problems for other businesses, bringing a prescriptive way in solving the problems. So we at OneStock take a lot of pride in taking the prescriptive approach and building rich, I would say, out-of-the-box features that includes workflows, user interface for both business users and IT users, as well as integration assets, which serves as a reference point. And the reason why that is important is it helps in reducing the overall TCO and helps in faster implementation cycles. And from a platform perspective, we have 3 layers: the functional layer, which has all the out-of-the-box capabilities, and including delivery promise, store fulfillment, customer service, order orchestration. And then we have a decision intelligence layer, which is the brain of the OneStock platform and sits under the out-of-the-box modules. And then we also have an open and extensible design. One of the things I want to talk about is we have a concept called competitive allocation, which has been a true differentiator in the market for us, and is kind of the default way we manage order allocation when fulfilling from the store. And the way we think about it is, almost like an Uber or a Deliveroo model. So when we allocate an order to one or more stores or the eligible stores, we assign it to we make it available to all the eligible stores. So the stores have an equal opportunity to grab the order and run with it. So whoever is available and fastest to react gets the job. That's one thing we really take a lot of pride in. And we also recognize that modern brands are hybrid. So we manage both B2C and B2B flows within the same unified platform, respecting the deep specialities of each, whether it is the high velocity unit picking of B2C or the complex bulk flows, especially the SLAs and partial shipment rules. You would think of B2B. So OneStock can orchestrate both simultaneously without friction. So that we think is a differentiator in the industry.
Very interesting. So the competitive allocation is something that I don't think we've seen very typical, kind of. Now, in terms of customer base, what's your, do you guys specialize in a certain segment of customers, like both in terms of size of company as well as in terms of, vertical? What's your this thing? And also, if you can share some things about geographically, what's your customer base look like?
Sure. We have an amazing global customer community, right? So we have about 60 plus customers across 90 brands, spread across 25 countries, and they are across multiple verticals like luxury retail, sports, DIY, home furniture, I would say agriculture, automotive parts, absolutely, and B2B wholesale. So the recent brands to join the OneStock community are JD Group, Longchamp, French way of saying it, and learning it on the all the time. And then SAG, which is the Swiss automotive group, doing B2B auto parts distribution. So these are some of the recent brands to join the OneStock community. We have also added a few customers in the North American region late last year. So the momentum is clearly there, and we just need to execute on it. And a few more examples, right? Longchamp saw an increase in their online sales by 12% by making a more accurate delivery promise, that they were able to meet. So they did this by exposing the available inventory up to the last unit, since they don't have a huge assortment, as you know, to the online channels in a timely manner. So they did that. And then the next one is our competitive allocation algorithm, which I will talk about more about later, help them reduce the cancellation rate as well as delays in bringing in repeat customers. So that's one example. Another example, Bash is a French fashion brand. They introduced buy online, return in store. So the conversion exceeded 30% with an upsell rate of 40 to 45% with customer walking into the store.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, and the last one, sorry, to call out is Intersport. This is a global sports retailer with more than $14 billion in revenue, which you would have never heard of if you're in North America. And they have more than 5,500 stores across 42 countries, and they use OneStock to execute on their omni-channel strategy. So 93% of their digital sales gets shipped from stores, and 5 to 18% of their store sales is generated by digital. So they do about 2,000 ATP calls per second, which kind of talks about the volume and the scalability of OneStock as well. And one last data point I want to give is this is again, blows my mind when I hear some of these metrics. Being in the industry for such a long time, the average time taken for a store to claim an order is 13 minutes.
And this
And they
is
have
in
a
the
store.
competitive model that you're talking about, where
Yes,
you
yes,
blast
yes.
it out to, if I understand what you're doing is you're blasting the same order to multiple stores and expecting the first guy to pick it up, and you're saying it's 13 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, and also what it does is 98.3% of stock accuracy. What it does is also, if a store does not have the item, they are also able to report it in a timely fashion.
Okay, okay, okay. So you get that inventory update and that accuracy coming into the mix. Now, let me ask you just one quick follow-on question on this. So,
Mhm.
if I were to just ask you, like, what types of retailers would your sweet spot be in terms of, like, obviously, clearly, again, you guys are new to North America, so a lot of the folks here are North America based, so might not have heard, but it's clearly you guys are powering some pretty big volumes and pretty big complex retailers. So just if I were to just ask a broad question, and who would be your sweet spot?
So I would say luxury retail, absolutely. Big box retailers. If you thinking about the example I just gave, Intersport, they have 5,400 stores or 5,500 stores, and they are of course rolling it out in an incremental fashion, right? So they rolled it out close to 1,000 stores now, and they're gonna the goal is to reach 5,500. So that's absolutely our sweet spot in stores which are yeah, online retailer which has both online presence and a retail presence. And then we also have, I mentioned the LKQ and the Swiss Automotive Group. They are auto parts distribution. So one of the things we take a lot of pride in, Lakshman, is we have a very complex, what do you say, way of configuring the delivery promise, right? Think about, if you are a B2B automotive parts distribution, you are distributing to all kinds of mechanics who are in remote areas and whatnot, and everybody, has a different delivery time, and you also wanted to make sure that the pickup time from each of these places from where you are sourcing the item, they have local trucks which are running. So there are different delivery routes, different pickup times for each of these trucks. So there's a complex way of how you can actually go about, but we have simplified that by putting an agent on top of it, right? We understand there's a lot of configuration. So retailers who do have a lot of B2B auto parts distribution or B2B distribution, even agriculture products, we do have customers who do that as well. I think OneStock is a great fit for them as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's very some unique use cases there. Yeah, I think I want to kind of pivot off of that into you mentioned agents for Swiss Automotive Group. So you also mentioned right up front. I noticed that you said AI first. And that's something that if you went to NRF, you would have seen everybody says they are AI first. So I do want to ask that first question, like, what do you guys mean by AI first? What is AI first in your mind? How do you think of that?
I think one of the things I found out when I came into OneStock is there's really AI first culture, which our founder and CEO Romulus, he comes from academia in AI ML, and he has built that culture. And one of the first things I found out when I joined OneStock is that we have been using an internal tool which we call OneBot, which our internal teams they've been using it as an expert agent, if I may call it that, across our sales, marketing, and product teams. I think we even showed it to your team while we were there at our Boston
Yeah.
offices. What the tool really does is, we have built a data lake using some of the product documentation, Confluence pages, Jira tickets, and using OpenAI LLM. And we have our internal sales teams, marketing teams, and product teams, trying to answer questions on an RFP, trying to produce product marketing assets, and product managers trying to prioritize the features, finding the status of tickets. So this process or this tool really gave us perspective on agentic AI when that term was really new and the technology was new, and developed empathy for the users who use these agents. So how to form a feedback loop, also how to develop the skill set to build such agents, right? We were able to gain that perspective. Then all that translated, all that experience and empathy in creating these agents translated into what we developed last year, the MCP server and the MCP tools, along with the native agents that we continue to release today. So even today, we encourage our PMs to think about AI and extensibility as two tools they have at their disposal when they develop features.
So it's a good example, and I know that, but I was not aware that. So you're actually eating your own dog food in a way that you're. It's not that these agents are just for customers or you're just putting them out in the product. Your internal teams and your sales teams and all of you folks are actually using these tools yourself to do your work. That's fantastic.
Yep.
Now, in terms of from a product perspective, how do you guys think of AI? What are you guys doing from an AI perspective? I know OMS AI, everybody talks about it, every vendor out there, right? So what's your unique perspective on that, and what have you guys done? I think if you can share some details of that, that'll be fantastic for the audience here.
Sure, absolutely, Lakshman. One of the first things I did when I came into OneStock is to work with our team to convert, I would say, what we had, a tech-driven roadmap, right? Converted that into a business problem-driven roadmap. And the reason is obviously, as you know, being, coming from a very consulting background, focusing on real practical problems always helps. Make no mistake, right? AI is in our DNA. Our founder, Romulus, if you don't know, comes from the academia, as I mentioned, and has a PhD in AI ML. And so there's always an impetus to solve problems using the latest AI technologies. But at OneStock, our vision is to make AI concrete, trusted, and scalable enabler, I would say, for modern commerce, focusing on solving real business challenges rather than creating artificial hype. So, we broke it down, the overall AI investment, into three business pillars. The first one is elevating the customer experience. What does that mean? So with OMS as the system of truth for inventory availability, promise, and order transactions, it proves that that OMS is a key enabler in realizing the true power of agentic commerce. So investment here is getting ready for the era of agentic retail. So think about personalized promise, proactive customer service, support for various protocols which gets released, including the UCP we saw last week, and the world of connected agents, which I'll talk about it towards the end. Right, those are all comes into the topic of the pillar of elevating the customer experience. Then talk about invest in increased operational efficiency. What does that mean? Providing an agentic AI experience to empower and assist the business user community, be it customer service or store associates or an omni-channel operations person who wants to tweak the order allocation rules. And the last one is last pillar, investment pillar, is what we call optimize for profitability. And there are three areas where we unlock value for our customers. The first one is delivery promise accuracy, smart stock utilization, including safety stock. How can you dynamically anticipate what the safety stock should be in a specific store? And then dynamic fulfillment. So there's a lot of work being done currently in building a data lake and training ML models on them. So more to come on that. So all these business pillars, what I just mentioned, apply across both B2C and B2B customers.
Got it. Yeah, and so that's fantastic. So customer experience, operational efficiency, and I think the third one you said was
Optimize for profitability.
Oh, profitability. Got it. Yeah. Can you talk about specific features that you've built in each of these areas? Like, I don't know if I know you talked about it more high level,
Hmm.
but translate that into like specific features or capabilities that drive business outcomes. I think help understand a little bit more detail.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the first one we talked about is the excuse me, agentic commerce and what we are doing to be ready for it, right?
MCP, yeah.
We released our MCP server along with our MCP tools about last summer. We also released native agents built using those native MCP tools. And we have already seen multiple customers showing interest in using the AI assets which we have released. So external conversation agents like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google Shopping Agent, they have not yet opened up their framework where we can just integrate and build that experience for our customers yet. So we are ready with MCP tools to feed them with our master data, whether it's availability, inventory, or fulfillment data. So they have the information they need and actually process them when a user would ask specific questions on a product availability and related available delivery options for one or more items. And one of the things, excuse me, real use cases we are working on, it's more real, and any of these is working with the likes of Algolia or Constructor to build a direct integration with their search engines, which are agents now, right? That can be embedded into the retailer's digital experience to provide a more personalized product discovery experience for consumers. So think about where you can go into the website and just, when you're searching for, I wanted to buy shirt for my next week's beach trip, whatever that is. So now you are having a conversation with the agent, right, where the agent is able to recommend you items, but items which actually have inventory, which are nearby for you to pick up in a store, so on and so forth. And that agent actually understands who you are, and you understands your profile, and is very contextual and able to personalize that experience. That is very powerful, and I think we are in the forefront in driving that. And then from an operational efficiency perspective, we have a few agents which we have already released, and one of them we call it the config agent, and that is for the business user empowerment. And the other one, which is in the works, is the expert agent, which is also for the business user. And the second one is for the customer service associates. How can we provide more, an order summary, an order, better order search, recommendations for the next best action to take? How can they easily perform bulk actions? And then there's a store associate companion, which is nothing but another agent where they can use the agent to perform task, or the agent is going to tell them the priority of task which they have to perform. And then a final layer, is the open OMS, right? How do we provide the AI tools or use AI tools, whether it's our own in-house tools or third-party tools, to provide a better integration and extensibility experience for the developers, and then troubleshooting as well as monitoring. And another area where we think AI brings the best business outcome is focusing on delivering optimized fulfillment, which I mentioned the profitability part of it. And we already use various criteria like store capacity, store sell-through rate, carrier pickup times, etc., to prioritize stores accordingly. We do that today. But now we are in the process of building a data lake where we can build some ML models to look at profitability aspect to make sure that we are tapping into I would say, the most stressed units, using the stores with more probability of fulfilling the order, taking into account the shipping cost margins. So recently, we have been talking to a few retailers who are already using a legacy OMS, but have lost sales due to canceled orders, I would say up to 20%. And if you talk about a $1 billion online business, that is about 200 million in lost sales, which is mainly due to inventory inaccuracy. And this varies based on the category of item, region, and season. So we are working with these retailers to perform a proof of concept and do a bit of A/B testing to prove improvements by using the historical data.
So you're just to dig into that example, you're talking about a scenario where a retailer is using a legacy OMS, but you are able to just augment that legacy OMS with your AI capabilities so that they can see a comparison. Is that kind of what you're talking about here, Karthik?
Yes, yes, and we call it a OMS as a service. I don't know if it's an industry term, but we started calling it as OMS as a service.
Got it. Wow, fantastic. Okay, okay. I do want to dig in a little bit into agentic, right? Like I know we talked about agentic commerce. Agentic commerce is the buzzword. Everybody's talking about that being the future and all that. I would love to get your perspective, and it's everybody has a different vision of what this agentic commerce is. It ranges all the way from there's going to be no more e-commerce websites to, like, it's going to be like you said, agents on the site that help you search better and all that stuff. What is your kind of perspective on how this world of agentic commerce is going to evolve? And specifically, I think another big question that a lot of us have, right, especially as in this group, we are all OMS practitioners for most part. What is the role of OMS in that agentic commerce world, right? Like, what does it mean for us? I think these are two questions that I think is on everybody's mind. So I would love to get OneStock's perspective on these two topics. And what are you guys doing? How are you guys viewing this?
No, excellent question. I think we most of us here, we are all trying to figure this out, as we go here, right? And let's talk from the perspective of the customer's buying journey, right? I remember, I'm sure you had a similar experience walking into the store, I would say 20, 25 years back, and you would receive a very personal experience. I remember walking into the store with my dad, and the store associate will come and greet us, and right away they will know what we have purchased the last time and what are the items which are right now in trending, and right away ask questions about what are you here for. And we would say something like, hey, we are here to going on a vacation, we want to buy something. Okay, what's the weather going to look like, what kind of linen, what will go with that, etc. So that personal shopping experience, Lakshman, I think is lacking in the digital channels today, right? And I
Absolutely.
think with the advent of agent e-commerce, which is what we are all talking about here, there's a real possibility of bringing that hyper personalized experience back to customers.
No, you're spot on, and that's the reason I was smiling is because that's exactly the way I was also thinking about this. Is the old school world of where you have a very personalized sales, white glove experience,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and that has kind of been lost, especially in the e-commerce world, because it's like you just have a bunch of products that are out there, and you have to now do all the work to figure it out.
Yes.
Versus, having an assistant that can help you navigate
Mm-hmm.
what your assortment is, and yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. I mean, just think about the pre-purchase journey. There's a real opportunity to introduce agentic AI experience during the product discovery process, whether it is the retailer's website or the external conversational platforms like ChatGPT. Let me give you a pre-purchase example, and this is something we actually built on top of a Shopify website, and we are premium partners with Shopify, FYI, right? So the agent we built on Shopify, which relies on multiple layers of information, including our OneStock's MCP, and leverages the tools our MCP is exposing to them. So this agent experience can help the customer through a buying process using natural human language. So let's consider like a shopping assistant agent that would help customers to find the perfect product for them. If the customer has existing preferences, they can come in and say, "Hey, I'm trying to, buy an item for an office party, which I need to go next week." Okay, and based on the customer profile and based on the customer past experiences, you can actually form a customer profile, and the agent can start asking questions like, "Would you prefer gray, blue?" Or the customer is really going offbeat and they want a completely different color, they can also do that. Right. And then the agent can say, what are the products in the online assortment which would satisfy these criteria from the e-commerce MCP, right? And if these products are available in the customer size, where and which time, where can it be picked up if the customer chose to pick it up, and what time will it be available? And OneStock's MCP, right, has all the inventory availability information, delivery option information. It can provide a more personalized information to the customer. The agent would then provide a better suited answer to the customer in accordance with what is the request, and also suggest to control the customer's location in order to provide the best suited delivery options for them. When the customer gives their location, or I'm able to already figure out the location, the agent can then request the OneStock MCP server using the tools we have to obtain the delivery options, what is the date, and then also the cost associated for the delivery options, asking the customer, and also providing those preferences to the customer.
So this is
So
already something that you've. This is a POC that you have live, and this is an
yep.
example. This is not a customer that is shopping on a chatbot, but this is a customer that's on a retailer's website, and they're engaging with an agent that's assisting them in that shopping journey. That's behind the scenes stock. Is that the
Yes,
right
yes,
understanding?
that's exactly,
Wow.
and we actually demoed it at our booths, at NRF, and and we have been showcasing it to our existing customers. Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, we are ready with some of these tools. The retailers are not, and also, obviously the conversation platforms, they haven't really allowed it from a framework perspective. But I think the best, uh, possible next step for us is to work with our existing customers to see how we can incorporate that into their existing digital experiences on their website.
Okay, and you also mentioned that you're a premium Shopify partner. What does that mean? That do you guys have out of the box connectivity and all that stuff? If can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, we have out-of-the-box integration with Shopify, and we have a product maintained integration. What that means is an out-of-the-box integration, and we continue to invest in it. And we were just reviewing the roadmap yesterday for the next 3 months, and we have a series of my team came and said, "Hey, these are all the things we are going to do on Shopify." Of course, me being me, I have to question each and every investment, and at the end, it told me that there are customers who are latching on to the Shopify connector we have built, and they continue to ask for improvements or enhancements and whatnot. So it's an ongoing investment, and we are serious about it. And yeah, that's really the Shopify story there. And another quick example I want to give on the agent e-commerce is the post-purchase example, right? The customer is asking about the status of their latest order in human language. So we are also built an agent for a post-purchase experience where the agent is able to return to the customer the order number of their latest order. So all the customer has to come and do is, hey, what's the status of my latest order, or I'm getting anxious about an item which I need for my office party, whatnot. The agent will not just spit out information, but it's going to give a concise summary of this is the order number, which these are the items, the content of the items, this is the status of the line items, and also provide the tracking status for each of these line items. So the customer is having that summary and not trying to put together pieces of information to understand what's going on.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
it's really powerful. And if you look at it, the average Vismo cost is $8 to $10. And the same example can be applied for returns, exchanges, or even order modifications.
So any website, e-com site, in their customer service, they have a chatbot and they can integrate with your MCP server easily to get this going. Is I think okay.
Yeah, and we are working with our customers today with incorporating that with the likes of Zendesk. One of our customers, they use Zendesk today, and they wanted to integrate with Zendesk. Yeah, I mean, this is a real problem we are solving for our customers today.
Fantastic. I want to quickly pivot to the operational efficiency topic, and I know that you mentioned call center. I think you said customer service agents. I'm assuming that's call center, and then you also talked about a store companion. Can you very briefly, give examples of what kinds of capabilities you have in the call center and the store?
So it's interesting. When we started looking at what problems we wanted to solve, or what is top of the mind for our customers, and it came out of the last OneStock Connect. We have a user group where our customers come together, a user group meeting, and we had a roundtable discussion about AI, and one of the urgent topics are the immediate investments where they want to make. They think where the uh, AI has some real outcomes is on the operational efficiency side of it, and which is specifically on CSRs and store associates. And if you think about it, the problems themselves are not new. They are the same old problems, customers doing calling in, consumers calling in for order inquiry, or can I get an appeasement because my order is late, whatnot. So the problems themselves are not new, but the solutions, now we have newer technologies in provide newer solutions. And I think it's a job of us as vendors, and the retailers are not going to show you the way, right? And they're going to tell you exactly what solution to offer, but it is us, we have to wear the thinking hat and provide those solutions. Well, one example we have is when a customer calls in about order inquiry, right away, providing an order summary. So think about, telling the CSR there are 50 orders held for fraud check when they are coming in to the system, 50 orders held for fraud check, 15 orders at risk of missing SLA. And then from an order list perspective, how about providing an ability for them to search for orders using an agentic AI? For example, show me orders that are not shipped in the last 24 hours, or show me orders for John in the last 24 hours. Right? And then order details, summary of the order. When opening the order details, this order is expected to be delivered by November 30th, and it's already delayed by 2 days. How about providing some of this information upfront? And this information exists today. You don't have to go to any other system. It exists in the OMS, right? And also providing the recommendations for the next best action. So when the customer is calling in, and if the original item is canceled or back ordered, how about providing a recommendation on there? These are the other items which which might be the customer might be interested in, and they do have inventory, and it's the same price point, etc. And also when it comes to appeasement, right? How about scanning across all what the CSRs actions have taken? I remember vividly going into some of these contact centers, and the CSRs actually chatting with another CSR to understand what appeasement they have given for such a scenario. Right? And so this information exists in our system because the CSRs have given appeasements for other orders. So can we scan through all that and provide the best recommended next action for the CSR to say, hey, the best possible appeasement for this particular scenario, what the customer is calling about because the order is delayed, is a $10 coupon or overriding the shipping fee, whatever that is.
So in your call center, capability, what you're saying is there's the UI ability to be able to do all of this stuff from a UI perspective, or there is a chatbot ability where you can do all of the same actions through a chatbot, makes it much more easy and intuitive. Is that the right understanding?
That's right. There are two steps to it. One is providing the next best action. The agent providing, almost, we call it the Robin, by the way, Robin for the Batman, the agent being the
Robin.
Batman
Okay.
here. And that's the name we have given. And the Robin is actually helping the CSR in doing the job. At the end of the day, the Batman has to be the CSR. It's never the agent, right? But the Robin is, providing what is the next best action. And then the CSR can choose the Robin to act on their behalf. And they can say, can you just do this particular action, what you just recommended? Yep, absolutely. I can go and do that appeasement and, provide the confirmation, send the email, whatever, all those things, right? And another example is performing bulk actions. This is another classic example coming out of a holiday period, whatnot. I remember sitting in one of the, talking to one of the CSR managers, and they were saying they have to go through number of orders, understand which orders were delayed by 3 or more days, and then they wanted to apply override or waive the shipping fee, because if the orders are delayed, they want to waive the shipping fee and be proactive because before customer calls starts coming in. Right? That is true empowerment, if you ask me, Lakshman, for these customer service
Yeah,
teams.
absolutely, absolutely. No, it's very interesting that you guys seem to really be taking this. You're not just, it's not just a marketing tagline that you're AI first. You are really investing this in AI, and you have real capability. I want to ask one more question, and then I want to see if any folks in the audience have questions before we wrap up. We are about 15 minutes away.
Yep.
So you also mentioned briefly about implementation, capabilities for people who are, for partners like us and others in the call, who maybe, and retailers themselves who want to, extend the platform or integrate, external APIs into this. And you mentioned that you guys have AI, you leverage AI for that as well. Can you share a little bit about what you guys are doing in that domain with the AI?
Sure. And I remember vividly this was during 1 year is already coming up, right? With last spring shop talk, I was sitting with my CEO, and we were just talking about the idea of how I used to do consulting, and we were doing implementation. And you and I have been on projects as well, where you get into do the design workshops with a few folks from business, IT, and then the software implementation folks. And then you get into the room, you talk about the business requirements, you actually discuss what is the best possible configuration, and then you put together a solution definition document, get the sign off, then go back and configure that in the application, and then give or take a few months. You have orders flowing in, then you realize, oops, you know what? The configuration, what I actually thought is going to work. It's not working out for me. Either it's not, it's splitting the orders into too many shipments, or, I'm having a lot more shipping costs than what I imagined, or I'm seeing a lot more cancellation, whatnot, right? But the goal here, right, the vision here is the Robin, in this case, listens to these workshop requirements on an ongoing basis, right? It sits in the room, and it generates it not only just listens, but it also consults, back and talks back not in a literal way, but you understand, right? It provides recommendations on this is the best possible configuration for the requirement, what you're talking about, based on what we have done with other customers and whatnot. And it also does the configuration for you, simulates a few orders through the system, and right away shows you the impact in minutes.
Wow.
So compressing the 3 to 4 months in a matter of minutes, that's where we are heading. And the first phase of that is what we have released, the configuration agent, and we have released this for the orchestration layer, which helps in configuring the allocation rules and workflows. And now we are actively working with our customers who have the same kind of urgency on configuring the delivery promise side of the product.
So you'll actually have your Robin in the discovery sessions, listening as a product, not something you do offline. That's fantastic. Okay, I want to pause there and see if there's any questions from the audience. I know there's a bunch of folks here that I'm sure have been listening to this stuff, and yeah, go ahead, Sairam.
Hey, Karthik and Lakshman.
Hi.
Hello, Sai.
Yeah. Hey, this has been a very interesting conversations. A lot of new stuff, a lot of stuff we already know, but it's really great to know how the market has been developing over the recent technological advancements. So, Karthik, my main question was on the initial topic we spoke about, where you have the ability to blast an order to all the stores and let one of them or whoever picks the first gets the order.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any numbers and what sort of improvements you guys saw from a order fulfillment time or the fulfillment percentage perspective? Because I mean, today we have situations where the store accepts the order, but when they go to pick, pack, and ship, they might still find the item defective and reject the order. So, but now if we are putting the onus on the stores, that means they are extra careful before accepting the order. So that would automatically shoot up your fulfillment rates as well. So, do you have any numbers to share with us where how your fulfillment numbers and time taken to fulfill an order was improved with this feature?
Yeah, so I think I shared it. I'll go back to those numbers. I shared it during the initial question which Lakshman was asking. And that's a great question, by the way. And
Mhm.
thanks for honing in on that. That's a true differentiator what we have. So the average, this is for Intersport, which has is already using our competitive allocation across 1,000+ stores. It's so the average time taken for a store to claim the order was 13 minutes. So going back to your point on this, what this really does is also, Sai, in putting the onus on the store, in the sense, if they don't have the item, or if the item is damaged, or if they don't have the capacity, they rather not pick up the item at all, or the pick up the
Correct.
order at all.
That's right.
Right. So and it in this case it gave a 98.3% of stock accuracy, right? And the order cancellation rate went down. I think they before we went in, they had order cancellation rate of about 30%, and
Mhm.
now they are hovering around less than 5%, right? And that's because of this, the competitive allocation, hands down. And it was packed in 35 minutes, right? The average time in and dispatched in less than 3 hours. That's kind of the metric I have coming out of Intersport. I don't know. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, if I can ask a follow-up question there, Karthik, do you also in your algorithm then penalize? So I'm just thinking, if somebody is quick to the draw,
React and accept and not fulfill.
right,
Absolutely.
and basically they keep accepting orders but not
Yep.
fulfill. Do you then say, hey, you're not going to be part of the
Mhm.
competitive allocation? Prioritize the decline, or rather deprioritize stores that have high declines.
Yeah. So the first thing we do is, Lakshman, we can't let stores, claim indefinitely, right? So there's a cap. So you can establish a cap, right? And you can establish a cap, and you can also establish a cap on how long you're going to be sitting on an order.
After you accept it.
Yeah, because what happens is if you're not going to be working on, because so one of the things that if that what I mentioned, remember initially we actually help retailers keeping their promises, and we do it literally. We actually save the date which we commit to the customer or estimate to the customer, and we track it along the order. So at any point we think there's a risk of that SLA, right? We right away we look at how long this order has been sitting in the store, and we yank it, put it back into the queue so that some other store will say, you know what, I want to run with it.
Okay.
Right? So that's one part. The second part is if that store has been historically declining, or it has been taking a bunch of orders, but they've been declining most of them because they're just being greedy. I think we track that, right? That's data we have already, and we track that, and they go down in the priority list.
Okay, okay. So that becomes a disincentive for somebody to, grab orders and then later figure out what to do. Gets that accuracy. Does that answer your question, Sai?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anu,
Thanks, Karthik.
Yeah, no problem.
go ahead, Anu.
Hey Karthik, thank you for sharing all the information so far. I just have a
Mhm.
follow-up question on the same topic. It's a unique capability of being able to blast the order to the store network and then have one of them come and pick it up.
Mhm.
I have a two-part question. Number one, in your experience, is this feature, it works better for retailers who have a high density of stores? Because you have already promised the consumer, so your eligible list of stores should be the ones that can meet that promise date. So if the retailer doesn't have a high density, the probability that you'll run into multiple stores that can meet that promise date would be low. That's number one. The second question is, in retailers where you have implemented this capability, would you know if the credit for the sale goes to the store who fulfills it or to the digital? Like, is there an incentive for the stores to compete and try to fulfill the order?
Okay, great question. So on the first question, you're absolutely right. Right, if you have a low density of stores, like for example, if you have one, two, or three stores per state, right? Then it really becomes, I would say in that case, you are anyway competing with regional stores, aren't you? Right? It's not a high density of stores. You're competing. So we will consider that regional aspect of it, because at the end of the day, SLA does matter. So most of the, say, for example, I live in Atlanta. So if I have a Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, whatever the neighboring, Alabama, all the wonderful states we have neighboring, right? So when we have these states and we have the stores, sitting in these states, we will consider these stores because these are all the eligible stores, especially if they have the inventory, and which can make that particular SLA, which will come into. And then if the first one to pick it up is Florida, that's fine. As long as they can make the SLA, it will be under consideration. Right? So that answers the first question, hopefully. And then the second question is, I think this question is not specific to competitive allocation, but I will tell you the answer because this is the age-old question, right? Everybody wants to know how do they get incentivized, and is it and it depends on brand to brand. We have a customer, Oliver Brown, which we visited. We had a store tour in New York, and what they do is they do have incentives which gets built up from a store perspective. And what they do is, instead of giving that as real money to the store associates. It goes into a pool and like an entertainment pool, and that particular store manager can take the store associates for, I don't know, for a dinner or whatever event and whatnot, right? So that's the way. So it does not necessarily has to be hard cash, the incentives. That's one thing we have seen, and they use the data like the picking up and everything as a dashboard to also understand where they stand among the rest of the associates for them, right?
Yeah, I think John has his hand up, but before that, Vida has a question on this particular topic. Karthik,
Okay.
I think the question is so whatever we've been talking about competitive allocation, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like it's a rule based thing, right? It's like, so where does, and I know you talked about penalizing certain stores and
Mm-hmm.
all that. Where is AI in all of this? Like, do you have AI embedded in this logic as well somewhere? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the configuration agent, which I mentioned, right, Lakshman, it sits on top of the orchestration and which is the sourcing and allocation rules. You can come to the agent and you can say that I wanted to do ship from store. What is the optimized way of doing it? How many stores should I be considering at any given point? And the agent will actually come and recommend based on your fulfillment network. You should not be considering more than 4 or 5 stores at any given point because you'll be then splitting the orders and whatnot. So to answer the question, there is an agent, an intelligence layer built on top of it, which is the agent. So you are not going into the system, understanding how the rules have to be built and all. So we have kind of obfuscated that with the help of the agent. Yeah, John, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. This is really exciting. At our company, we're being tasked in the OMS space to move away from just optimizing order economics at the time of order sourcing to be more holistic approach to maximize profitability, both in sense of working with e-com orders as well as protecting in-store sales and just looking at total profitability from a company standpoint. Where do you see AI as being the most helpful in terms of moving OMS from that kind of specific order economic model to being a large scale inventory strategy enabler to help kind of smooth out whenever our allocations and inventory placement kind of go away from what we forecasted?
A great question. I mean, it's interesting. We had a conversation with one of the Gartner analysts at NRF, and they've been talking about the topic of how do you reduce the e-commerce fulfillment cost, right, in order to drive profitability. And part of that is also inventory accuracy or inaccuracy in this case, right? And traditionally, if you look at the data which goes into the replenishment and forecasting, is mostly the store sales, right? And what has not been happening is the ongoing sales or the fulfillment trends which happens within the OMS. It's not fed into the forecasting layer on an ongoing basis in a live manner, right? I think there's a role for the OMS to play there, where based, that's the data lake what we are building and trying to build models on top of it, where we can actually come and understand, right? How much inventory should you be having at any particular store based on the historical, fulfillment decisions I have taken, right? Going back to your question of Lakshman, how many orders have been rejected by that store? How many orders have been delayed by that store, or missed opportunities, or maybe you are overstocking it because you are that's another thing which consumers do all the time. Sorry, retailers do all the time, right? They stock too much inventory because the last time they had a stock out. Right. So we analyze all those patterns, and I think there's a job for the OMS or an opportunity for the OMS to come and make those recommendations from a inventory, what we call safety stock, as well as inventory segmentation. If you are trying to segment inventory, traditionally, there are, segmentation rules which have already been made at HQ. But I think the OMS can easily dynamically make those safety stock as well as the segmentation recommendations. Does that make sense, John, what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the insight. Yeah, just looking for ideas.
Wonderful. I don't know if there's any more questions. We're almost on time. I wanted to just ask you, from a closing thoughts perspective, Karthik, this has been very educational. I think you guys are doing a lot of cool stuff in AI, and I hope, the audience got a taste of that. Just as closing thoughts, like as, a lot of folks here are either enterprises, businesses that are operators themselves or are business partners, right? What would be one or two things you would leave us with that says that, hey, it's a crowded market, there's a lot of different OMS options.
Yeah.
When should we think of OneStock? What should we think of OneStock in terms of capabilities?
So first of all, thanks for the opportunity for Nextuple and the team. And I think we at OneStock have put in some serious thought to use AI to solve practical business problems. And we are continuing to work with our customers, as I mentioned. In fact, I was on a call yesterday with our SWAT team, which monitors the progress of customer adoption, which is key to our customer success. We are also constantly working on measuring the usage of these agents individually to also understand if it is being used the way we designed them. And we also provide a lot of transparency on the PII data that is being collected and used by these agents, which we know is very important to our customers. So there's a lot of good work being done. And the next big innovation that we are working on is the concept of connected agents. And we see it two ways: customers interacting with multiple agents through multiple phases of their journey, starting from pre to post purchases. How do you share data among these agents and offer consistency in customer experiences? And then the business users using a single user experience, but behind the scenes, there are multiple agents working together to deliver the results. So if you want to work with a modern OMS built for today's customers and the future of commerce, you should be talking to us.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's all about agents and AI. It sounds like so fantastic. I think, Jason, that's, I think, wraps up the hour. I don't know if you had any closing thoughts or messages for the OMG group here, Jason.
No, I just appreciate everybody for coming and spending this Friday afternoon or morning or evening, wherever you are based, to have this conversation with us. I also am looking forward to seeing Karthik's video that he promised of doing some donuts in his car in the snowstorm, the upcoming snowstorm. But yeah, thank you all for attending. This has been great. We really appreciate Karthik and the OneStock team for joining us on today's call. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Lakshman. Thanks to everyone who was listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.